my beautiful people? It's your girl Shani here, your little big sis, because I might be small in stature, but I am always so big on the sisterly love. And welcome to another great episode of Always Keep the Faith Fridays, where your girl tries to take you through your work week, which hopefully hasn't been too stressful, to your Friday, the favorite day of the week, don't at me, to your weekend that I always hope is going to be great for you. Because, you know, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, that's where it's at. I'm just saying, the other days of the week are cool, but this is where it's at. Faith fam, how y'all doing? I love y'all. Thank you all so much for continuing to rock with me. And to all of you who may be new subscribers, or future new subscribers, I'm prophesying here, who are watching for the first time, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you can be notified anytime that I have a new episode and sharing something, whether it be a vlog or whether it be an interview or an episode of Always Keep the Faith Fridays. I want to make sure that you're informed. Also, let's connect. Let's be friends on social media. You can follow me at Shani Speaks Now on all the social media, all the things. Hopefully we can connect there and you can see what I do on my reels or in my stories, or if I post a picture, and see a little bit more into the life that is Shani Jones. But without further ado, I'm going to get into this week's episode because I've got something very, very real to talk to you all about. We're getting to the end of the year, and you know, again, I always encourage folks to evaluate. So of course, that's something that I have to do too. So I want you all to stay tuned for this episode, which is called Triggered. Yes, you can tell, I'm about to get deep. So I'll be honest, typically at the beginning of a year, at the end of a year, I always get like a word for the year. And I remember hearing that this year was going to be a year of vulnerability for me, but I really didn't understand like what that was going to mean. And very quickly I found out. This has probably been the most vulnerable I have been. And this is probably going to be a very vulnerable episode as I share a little bit of an experience I had and just how it triggered me essentially. I shared earlier this year about my miscarriage, and I have done my best to not only be open, but also to come at it from a positive and a hopeful slant. But at the end of the day, it was a very, very traumatic experience and still very fresh as it only happened earlier this year. And I'm a human being, so I'm still going through stages of grief and healing, and still have very real moments where my loss is felt, or where I just kind of have to catch myself and just understand where I am in that moment from day to day. To be honest, that's a part of why some of these episodes this year have just been so scattered, because some days I just can't. I don't have it in me to be able to give. But there is something that happened recently, which wasn't a bad thing, but that was definitely a trigger for me. And I know we all have things in life that have been traumatic that can be triggers, whether it be a death of someone, or whether it be an illness, or whether it be something, you know, outside of our capacity that may have happened. Whether we have traumas that we don't always deal with, and some of those traumas have triggers that we don't know when they're going to come up or what may cause them. So I figured that I'm not the only one who is triggered by certain things that are traumatic or that may happen in my life. And I wanted to share some things that I thought would hopefully be helpful if you find yourself in a moment where you're triggered. Because if it hasn't happened yet, it's something that may happen. And yes, I know this episode is a little bit deep, but rock with me. Hopefully it's something that you can take from and learn from, and that we can just grow together. I love the month of December. It's always one of my favorite months of the year, but this month is a little bit bittersweet for December of 2022. And the reason for that is if I were still pregnant, my due date would have been December 8th. And it's those sorts of things that are looming that you think of just sometimes out of the blue, and especially for me this time of the year, because I'll be honest, it's hard not to consider what this time of year could have been. Now, of course, December 8th wouldn't mean a thing because babies come whenever they good and well please. A baby could have came way earlier or way later than that. But for me, it's a date that will always be etched in my mind. Obviously, a lot of my friends, a lot of people that I know have had pregnancy announcements, have been pregnant, have had their babies, and I'm the type of person that no matter what's happening in my life, I love to celebrate people. I genuinely do, and I'm genuinely happy for them. I had one friend in particular who their due date would have been very close or was very close to what mine would have been. So for me, in my mind, a lot of the things that she was going through, whether it be from, her body's perspective or, the times that she was planning for baby showers, all those things, possibly would have been in tandem. But either way, I was super, super, super excited for her, and I was able to attend her baby shower. I went to the store and was buying all the gifts. And on top of that, I had another friend who earlier this year, back in September, had her baby. So her baby at the time was around 2 months, just sweet and little. And I like to wait till babies get their shots before I go visiting. So needless to say, on this one particular weekend, I had the baby shower and then decided that it would have been a good idea for me to just go ahead while I was still in baby mode and had bought gifts for both babies at the same time to go and visit my friend and her new baby. Now, if I'm being honest, I felt fine. I really did. I had the time of my life at the baby shower. Thad was at the baby shower. I played games. I won one of the games. I was able to catch up with a lot of people, had great conversations, had great food, and genuinely love my friend. And just seeing her in all of her pregnant glory, I couldn't have been happier. And then even to my friend that I went to go visit afterwards, whose baby was actually here, I got a chance to hold her and cuddle her. And I enjoyed both of those experiences. I really did. And I felt amazing that day. Cut to the following day. Now, my cycle coming into play could have had something to do with my hormones. But that following day, I felt a little melancholy. And it wasn't because I regretted being a part of any of their celebrations, but I just noticed something was happening to me. Then the day after that, I was completely sad. Like, it was like a veil of sadness came over me. And I think one of the things I realized is that at that point in time, I would have been basically a month out from my due date. I should have known that those things, going to the baby shower, visiting my friend were triggers, but in the moment I felt great and I was genuinely happy for them. And I almost felt bad that I was feeling sad for something that I was really happy about. That is what I call feeling crazy. One of my great friends who also experienced a miscarriage before shared with me that it's very possible for you to feel two things at one time. That you can genuinely be upset and sad for yourself, but also be genuinely happy for someone else. One of the things I realized too was figuring out, okay, what are triggers? How do I get triggered? And what should I do if I feel that I am triggered? So I want to share some of the things that I personally got out of this particular situation and just in general whenever I felt triggered that hopefully will help you as well. So if you find yourself triggered, one, be honest about what's triggering you and what you're feeling and accept it in the moment. You feel anxious, you may feel sad, you may get emotional, you may feel apathetic. You may not know, but you know that it is a emotion or a feeling that you just don't like. Pay attention to it, accept it, be honest about it, and just know that for yourself. If you find yourself being triggered, let it out. And what I mean by that is whatever emotion that you're feeling, feel it. For me, it was an overwhelming feeling of sadness. And I tried to explain it to my husband. It was almost like sadness had landed on me. And it sat with me for a good 45 minutes to an hour of me just like crying and letting it all out. That's what I felt like I needed to do. Thankfully, after I did that, I felt so much better. And I think that's what a lot of times people don't allow themselves to do is they bottle it up, they keep it in, they try to just make it through or move past it. And that's not always the safest thing to do, the healthiest thing to do, or the easiest thing to do. So if at all possible, even if you can't do it in that moment, be sure at some point to take time to let it out in whatever way that it may come for you. And once you let it out, or if you feel triggered, talk it out. Talk to someone safe, whoever it is. Thankfully, I have a lot of safe people in my life that I can talk to about these things who are being very, very understanding, especially for me this year, as they know this is something that may come up for me. And I've been very honest and open about it. And they're able to be a listening ear, even if they don't know what to say, don't have the right things to say, or don't say anything at all. Just being able to talk those feelings out. And if you don't feel like it's something that you want to talk to a physical person, you know that God is always there. He's always with us. He's an entity and a spirit that is with us at all times. So pray about it. Vocalizing it and verbalizing it is a part of what will allow you to understand it a little bit better. And last but not least, and this one may not always be a possibility, but if you know that you may be going into a situation that may be triggering, do your best to try to safeguard yourself from that trigger. Maybe it's breathing exercises. Maybe it's, I know there's smooth stones that sometimes you can rub on. Maybe it's something that you need to avoid or give yourself time, or whatever the case may be, if it is possible, because sometimes it's not. Sometimes you just walk into somewhere, or sometimes someone says something, or sometimes something is done and you may just be triggered. And also just know that it is okay. I talked about giving yourself grace a couple episodes back. This is definitely a moment when you're feeling triggered to give yourself a little bit of grace. So what's this week's faith fact? Being triggered means you're human. However, trust and believe you will make it through. I promise you that. I am making it through. So if I'm making it through, I believe that you will make it through too. A lot of times people think of being triggered as something that's negative. And yes, it can be negative in the moment because you don't like what you feel. However, emotions are part of the human makeup. It's a part of what makes us us. Being angry, being sad, being frustrated, whatever that emotion is something that you should feel. That is a part of the human experience, and it's not always a bad thing. It allows you to learn things about yourself. But if you do find that you're in a moment where you are feeling triggered, and I know that you may not like the emotions that you're feeling, understand that it's something that will pass at some point in time. I know that for me, what I experienced is still very fresh. It hasn't even been a year yet. And even a year from now, that's still very fresh. So I am allowing myself to have these moments, and thankfully the people closest to me are allowing me to have these moments as well. One of the things that I'm so glad that God has given me the ability to do is to share what I'm going through with others, because again, every time that I share, every time I'm vulnerable, every time that I'm real, it allows me to be able to, I think, heal and get to another level that I need to be. So hopefully this wasn't too sappy of an episode, but again, I love to be honest with you all. If I'm talking about always keeping the faith and letting the Lord fight my battles, then a part of it is sharing some of the battles that I have in order for you to know what my faith is standing on. But that is it for this week's episode. As always, thank you all so much for watching. If this was the first episode that you watched, go back and watch some other ones too, because this one may have been a little bit more deep and emotional than most. However, I'm so glad that you're here, and I'm so glad that you watched, and I hope that something that I've shared in this episode will allow you to subscribe and be a part of the Faith Fam. And of course, you can follow me and join me and see what I'm doing sometimes from day to day or week to week on social media at Shanice Speaks Now, especially on Instagram. Well guys, I hope that you all have an amazing weekend ahead. Whatever you do, have something great going on. Do something fun, go to a restaurant. There's all kinds of light shows, all the things. Do something holiday-ish. Back to ending the show. You all know the motto, which I already said in this episode, but I'm gonna say again to end it. Always keep the faith and let the Lord fight your battles. I love y'all. Take care. Have a great weekend ahead. Peace. Faith Fam, thank you for rocking with me all year long. I so appreciate you. Have a blessed and very happy New Year.